Ooh, you better bloody believe it's time for dumb motorcycle stuff, shed friends. The old Pacific National doesn't come around these parts much no more. Alright, so this episode we're going to start off by pulling apart some engines, doing some engine swap bits, and machine some heads hopefully. If we've got time and we're lucky, we might even put an engine together. I don't see me getting two engines together, but maybe one. I honestly can't even see that happening, but we will get some stuff done. So let's get some spanners out and pull some stuff apart. This is the top end that came off the spare parts bike motor. Had a bit of a look-see at it. Camera's never going to really show it real good. You can see there's a lot of pickup marks in there, but interestingly, still like good hone marks in the cylinder. The piston also has a lot of pickup marks. Bit of scoring on the side of the piston. Yeah, intake side's a bit on the weird. Yeah, but it is definitely not great condition. But I don't think it had done a lot of hours before it had this seizure issue. I cannot get that ring out. It's stuck in there. I did get the top ring out though, and the top ring did a, thanks train, did a end gap on it, and it came in at 16 thou, so gapped pretty good. Doesn't look, I don't know if you're going to see, looks like it's had a bit of life on it. But yeah, I think this would have been a good top end if it didn't have some obvious issues go on with it. Unfortunately, it's already at 87 millimeters, so that's pretty well full size. Judging by the condition of all these holes and whatnot, I don't think I'll ever do anything with this top end unless I get desperate. I've got a lot of other top ends, a lot of other cylinders around. The head that was on it, it's a bit of a disaster. I'll grab it and show it up. So this is the cylinder head off the parts bike 465. It's got a lot of markings around the squish band there. It's got that stupidly oversized hole that they chewed out with God knows what. I have a feeling all the holes have been oversized to accommodate bigger UNC bolts, which was just stupid. So I think the only thing that this head would ever be any good for is TIG welding it up and, you know, doing some experimenting with it or something, you know. Maybe use it to make a water-cooled head. Might be able to make a little turn this into an insert or something. Head insert for a water-cooled head. But it's basically, all of this top end stuff's basically junk. The parts bike top end removed, ready to do a leak down test on the blue bike motor, so we can take its top end off and then do some stuff. So that leak down test was to be expected. It had some leaks. The head gasket leaked, about pretty similar to the parts bike motor, interestingly. So it would have been interesting to try and get that motor running, but I still think I've made the right choice by taking parts that are known and put them on that motor to get it as a temporary runner. Now I'm gonna pull that motor apart and yeah, get it ready for a 490 cylinder. So this is most likely filmed out of sequence due to the way I've gone about doing some things, but that is not important. As you'll see here, I've got the piston out of the Blue Bike 465 already installed. It's not too bad, a little bit kind of worn. It's got some markings on it. I haven't done the ring groove check yet. I'll do that in a second. Cylinder is a bit shiny. It's quite shiny actually. Can't really see much hone marks left on it, unfortunately. I think this top end is getting a little bit on the tired side, as was to be expected, but that's alright. It's only going to be a temporary runner. Not like we're going to go flying down the highway on it or doing any massive hill climbs or enduro races with it. We're just going to get it running as a temporary motor, and then I'll get it all honed and bored and a new piston for it to put in an engine one day, because it's only second size over. Measured, was it 86? This one, 86 millimeters. So we're still good there. Now I've done the big end check. The little bit of float at the top here was only about 0.5 millimeter, and we've got I've already forgotten, 10th thou of clearance on the big end. So everything's actually on the bottom end of the tolerance. Like this bottom end seems pretty good. Everything feels quite nice. So I think we've got a pretty good bottom end here. So that's a good start. Because even if later we just get this top end freshened up and put it on, and we use this as the engine for that bike, that'll do me. So the ring gap of the Blue Bike top end comes in at about 32 thou, so it's definitely well tired. It was definitely a good time for me to pull this motor, well, the other motor down. I do think what was on this bottom end originally probably was in better condition than this top end is, but that scoring and just a few things about that motor I didn't like. So I still feel better putting this worn out top end on this motor and giving it a little try. And we'll see how it goes. Yeah, ultimately I'm pretty happy with that. Don't worry about this gasket. This gasket is for squish purposes only. All we're doing is set and squish, because we're going to remachine this head. I will clean that a bit better before we fire it up, but until then, should be fine. 4.4 standard drinks. That's a good beer. So it only just compressed the solder, 2 wraps. Ooh. 1.4. That's perfect. So I've just got to remember in this head, whatever I take off this face, I take off that face, and then I do the little 30-degree you know the thing. You've used the internet. If you're into these little engines, you're aware of that that trick. I need to find some parts. Piston, nuts for the head, nuts for the head. I know where the cylinder is. I know where the cylinder head is. I don't know where the cylinder head nuts are. I also don't know where the piston is. I mean, it's in one of these boxes. And we can do the squish on this beautiful bad boy. Then we can machine some heads. We can build some engines. And we can kick some ass. Or have our asses kicked, because you know how these engines work. So remember how I thought that piston had heaps of slop in that other engine? Well, turns out my memory of how these things go is very ordinary, and no, that's correct. That's how it is. Yep, I can see daylight through there. Yeah, not as tight as I thought. So we have a 22 thou gap end ring. According to this book, piston rings, ring and gap 490 IT, 14 to 20 thou. That's yeah, that's disappointing. One step I forgot to do was I machined up this little sleeve spacer to fit the old 465 cylinder with this DG pipe better. I could never get it to seal, it was too sloppy. So yeah, I machined up this little 1/2 mil wall thickness spacer, but I better make sure it fits on this exhaust spigot before I get too far ahead, because if I need to do any cleanup of this spigot, better to do it while it's off the engine. Stupid ass. These dowels will not go in with those dowels. Yeah, we're gonna have to remove some dowels. That's how we get out two dowels with a dodgily modified bearing puller and some heat, some thermal expansion combined with thermal contraction. It's pretty easy. .6 and 1.7. Yeah, 1.7. Depends on where I grab it. I need to get some thicker solder. About 1.7, we'll say. So I got to take off about 0.3 more. Off the face than I do off that surface, the squish band. 12 degrees, out to 8 mil, then 30 degrees. Diameter needs to open out a bit more to accommodate stuff and things. Yeah. Anyway. That's it. Obviously got to torque up bolts properly, but this will do for now. That gets me ready to machine these heads. Alright, that's one rebuilt motor, ready to machine the head. So it's not rebuilt, it's mostly rebuilt. One mostly rebuilt engine. So slight change of plans, came up with a better idea. I'm going to pull that blue bike motor back down, just the top end. I'm going to check the bottom end again, check the ring gaps, because I have bad object permanence and I can't remember that I checked them correctly, so I'm going to check them again. While we're at it, I'm going to take a little skim off the top of the cylinder just to make sure that it is all hunky-dory, and then we are going to machine the heads and then we're going to build the blue bike motor again. Okay, so I'm going to try something a little bit different here. I'm going to do a little bit of commentary over the top of one of these sped up videos of me doing stuff. Are they sped up though, or am I just on heaps of meth? No, they're sped up. There is no meth involved here. The cylinder has been decked just to clean it up. That was all, just a tooth out cut off the top of it. Now I'm setting up this IT490 head on the custom mandrel that I made. Bit of stuffing around. So trying out kerosene here. Kerosene's often a good coolant for aluminium. Wasn't giving me the finish I wanted, so I tried coolant. That also wasn't working, so I tried oil, which made a slight improvement, but I increased my RPM, and that also, combined with the oil, made for a nice good surface finish. Just a bit of polish on the dome. So I forgot to video the bottom end check before I assembled this motor. Bottom end came in within spec. I don't remember the exact numbers, but yeah, the crank and bottom end were seemingly pretty good, so I assembled. So having measured for good accurate squish, I'm now re-machining the faces to get the squish right and put the O-ring groove in for the excellent head gasket material, and then just the final squish set, which was about 1.43 millimeters, which I think is pretty good squish. Yeah, just super quick, bolt everything up, ready to take home. Now we're on to setting up the head off the blue bike. We'll do some little tricks there. I should have used the 4-jaw in hindsight, but look, considering how terrible these heads are from the factory, they're still better, even with me not spending a lot of time. Bit of polish, O-ring groove, yeah, pretty simple stuff, just some basic machining. Yeah, some checks and done. Now that I'm pretty happy with how that stressful part of the job has gone, and I feel like I have a pretty good condition motor to throw in this blue bike here, it's time to end this video where it began, with a leak down test. Well, hopefully we're going somewhere good. If not, yeah, oh well, too bad, send it anyway. So that leak down test was pretty bad. That's probably actually the worst one yet. I did some tests. It's too hard to see on camera, but I checked the head. The head doesn't leak now, so that was the main leak before. But as you can see, I'm leaking, well, as you can hopefully see, I'm leaking a lot of air around this intake. So that needs to be fixed. And also, by the looks of things, the crank seals are no good. Other than that, base gasket seals, head seals. I'm also losing air around this 3D printed block off plate, a little solid printed piece of plastic. It's not sealing real good in that intake boot, and we're leaking a bit around this TPU rubber sleeve I've made up. So I just need to make a few changes to these before I do a leak down test again. But yeah, two things that need to be fixed: replace the crank seals and fix this intake, and we should be good. Luckily I was going to do the clutch on this motor anyway, so it's not like I'm pulling a bunch of stuff apart just to do the seals. The only thing I'll be pulling apart that I wasn't going to pull apart is the ignition side. Yeah, anyway, not too bad, not the greatest, but yeah. The head seals, that's the main benefit. Well, that should just about do it for this episode, I reckon. Next time we will come back and do the clutch in the motor for this bike, and we will do the exhaust for that bike, and then we will put all of that together in that bike. And hopefully end of next episode we will be trying to break my leg kickstarting that bike. Anyway, until then, don't do anything I wouldn't do.